millions of people are worried that they're going to run out of gas because somehow this foreign entity, this organized crime outfit, was able to reach into our internet across the Atlantic or the Pacific, don't know, or maybe across the Arctic, and got into our computer system. How is that possible?
Well, it looks like the state affected the most, as we said, is North Carolina. And Laura Trump, Fox News contributor and our friend, she's from North Carolina. Laura, how's this affecting your family?
It's terrible for the state of North Carolina, as you guys pointed out. It's the worst affected state of all of them. I actually talked to my mom yesterday, and she told me she didn't even leave the house because who wants to go waste gas if you don't have to? Nobody wants to wait in these lines. It's really scary, though, guys. This is happening in the first 4 months of the Biden presidency. Think about the fact that under my father-in-law, under President Donald Trump, not only were we energy independent, we were a net energy exporter. And I used to talk about this all the time on the campaign trail. It meant we were no longer reliant on the Middle East. We were no longer reliant on Russia for anything. On the world stage, it gave us a much better footing. And now here we are with gas lines, gas shortages. It is insane. It's really, really scary.
Well, and think about it. Speaking of the Biden administration, it was in the first week that Joe Biden pulled the plug on the Keystone XL pipeline. Fast forward to now, where there's 1,000 gas stations out of gas. People are panic buying. Maybe, Laura, we need more pipelines and not less.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. I think it was day one and I think that might have been his first executive order as president of the United States, was canceling the XL Keystone pipeline. Obviously, that put thousands and thousands of workers out of jobs, as people are still having a problem finding jobs. But think about the implications on a bigger scale. Think about what this does in the eyes of the world for America. If I were somebody, God forbid, that was looking to cause problems in our country, cause harm to Americans, you see how easy this is. And where is Joe Biden on this? Why hasn't he come out and made some big sweeping statement about how they'll get to the bottom of this? This will never happen again in America. It's really crazy that you really haven't heard that much, and they don't really have a great solution. Well, it'll figure itself out. That's not good enough for the American people.
Yeah, don't kick out a diplomat. That's not going to be effective. Start handling those oligarchs and start holding on to their bank accounts, because they have bad money all over the world, and that's the only thing they'll understand. Meanwhile, at 10 minutes after the hour, something you're very familiar with is Dr. Anthony Fauci. He comes off as somebody apolitical, but man, is he political. Remember how he used to contradict President Trump every chance he could? He would hop on a talk show or do it with him in the room. Now, all of a sudden, Dr. Fauci finds himself under scrutiny, maybe for the first time ever. And Senator Rand Paul wasn't talking about masks. We're talking about the origins of this virus. Why aren't people more curious? And what did you know about the Wuhan lab? And what did the NIH give the Wuhan lab? Listen to this clash.
Dr. Fauci, do you still support funding of the NIH funding of the lab in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, with all due respect, you are entirely and completely incorrect.
Government scientists like yourself who favor gain-of-function research.
I don't favor gain-of-function research in China. You are saying things that are not correct.
So you, in front of this group, categorically say that the COVID-19 could not have occurred through serial passage in a laboratory.
I do not have any accounting of what the Chinese may have done.
Do you have any opinion? I'm not sure you're in on something as high level as this, but what Anthony Fauci and the NIH was contributing to the Wuhan lab, or was he going through a third party who would contribute to this Wuhan lab?
Well, I think I have a lot of questions. I think a lot of Americans continue to have a lot of questions. The irony here is that Rand Paul, don't forget, Senator Paul was actually a doctor. That's who he is. But it seems like instead of him being the bigger politician as a senator, Dr. Fauci has turned out to be probably the bigger politician here. To your point before you played that clip, look, we never want to find ourselves in a position like this again. We never want to have to go through this as America. This has been a terrible time. The past year, we are still obviously not back to normal. Things are still, kids are still not back in school. Businesses are still not open. We should know the origins of this, and we should know what role people like Dr. Anthony Fauci, who has been in his position for a very long time, possibly played in funding that could have contributed to this virus.
I just hope American dollars were not used for this type of research.
I just think we should be all hands on deck to find out the answers. Why this is a global issue. They have to come clean. The Chinese president lied to President Trump and said this doesn't have human-to-human transfer. This is going to go away in the spring. He said that to President Trump personally. So right there, his credibility is gone forever.
And Dr. Makari, we had him on earlier, Laura, and he was saying, why are we testing all these different bats and different coronavirus types or different viruses in other countries?
Too dangerous.
Why are we? Because it's too dangerous. They've had so many mishaps and leaks and spills, and it's just too dangerous to even test it. Look what's happened as a result.
Meanwhile,
yeah, it's really upsetting. And look, I think we should also allow countries to send people in themselves to this lab and check it out. We shouldn't be relying on the World Health Organization. As we know, they have not been fully honest with a lot of things. So let's allow people to go in there and get answers to this again, so we never find ourselves in this position.
So many people have died. Absolutely. We need to know what happens. All right. Later today, I think this morning, in fact, there's going to be a House vote with the Republicans on whether or not Liz Cheney is going to keep her leadership seat. She's the number 3 most powerful person in the Republican Party in the House. She took to the floor yesterday to defend her stance on your father-in-law, former President Trump. She said that America should know what happened on January 6th and with the election as well. And she is not going to remain silent regardless where she is. Here's Liz Cheney.
This is not about policy. This is not about partisanship. This is about our duty as Americans. Remaining silent and ignoring the lie emboldens the liar. I will not participate in that. I will not sit back and watch in silence while others lead our party down a path that abandons the rule of law and joins the former president's crusade to undermine our democracy.
And Laura, last week we had Kevin McCarthy on this program, and he said that he didn't lose confidence in her because she voted to impeach Donald Trump, but instead, because where she is right now, she doesn't represent the views of the conference and cannot lead. And that sounds like why she will lose that job, and Elise Stefanik will wind up with it.
Yeah, well, she really doesn't represent, I think, the views of most Republicans out there, the views of our party. Look, there are 75 million Americans out there that voted for President Donald Trump that still have a lot of questions about this election. We can't just let it go. We can't just sweep it under the rug. And so whenever you stop representing the party that, you know, when you're, again, the third in leadership there, you really probably shouldn't have a leadership role. So we'll see, obviously, what happens. I know they're going to vote on it. But I think Elise Stefanik would be incredible. She's been a great supporter of Republican and conservative values, a great supporter of my father-in-law. So I would be happy to see her take that position.
Even though Liz Cheney was with the president 92% of the time, and Elise Stefanik voted for the president 74% of the time with his votes and was against the wall, and she was against the tax cut. That doesn't bother him?
Well, look, people have an opportunity to change their minds, and I think in recent months, you've really heard her come out and be very, very critical of the Biden administration, very supportive of what President Trump did, and say things like we have to get back to the values that President Trump tried to instill and the things he tried to do. It was obviously working for the American people. We have to have more people out there like that, pushing back and fighting for our country, fighting for patriots that love America, because, guys, it's a really scary spot we're in right now in this country with Democrats controlling the White House, the House, and the Senate. I mean, we need people that are going to stand up and fight, and that's exactly what I think she would do.
Well, Laura, good luck. We hope they fix this pipeline thing so your mom can leave the house.
Yeah. I hope she can get some gas soon. I'll fill you guys in next time.
All right.
All right, Laura, thanks for coming on with us.